It's been said again and again, now is a great time to start up a company. Well, one guest we spoke to is taking that a step further. Author Jack Garson knows the trick of creating a business and then selling it for millions. I sat down with him earlier. So let's start with some tips for entrepreneurs who want to start up that company. What should they do and how much money do you really need?
Well, there's four key things that you want to have when you're starting up a business. You want to know you have consistent profitability, a competitive edge, sustainability, and scalability if ultimately you want to sell the business.
And so how much money does all that take usually?
Well, I go into this in detail in the book. What you want to do is do an expense budget and a revenue budget and look out and see how far it's going to be until you have consistent profitability. You're going to have a shortfall until you have consistent profitability. During that launching period, you might need $100,000, $200,000, $1 million. Add 10 to 30% to that. That's the startup capital you should start with. And it's critical because 1/3 of all businesses will fail within 3 years just for lack of capital.
I know that, and some people just say go ahead and start anyway because otherwise you'll never get off the starting block. So just for the sake of argument, let's move forward and say you have this great business and your next step is now you want to sell it. So should you shop your company or should you just wait and see if somebody wants to buy you?
Well, that's a great question because when you're building a business, your job is to create a great business. It's not to sell it. There are people who are experts in selling. The buyers usually buy businesses all the time. You don't want to go up against them without experts supporting you. If it's a big business, you want an investment banker and legal and financial advice. If it's a small business, you want a business broker and legal and financial advice.
What companies are most likely to get purchased?
Businesses with consistent profitability that increases over time, that a purchaser can buy and make even bigger and potentially flip for a greater amount of money. And that's where scalability comes in. A buyer wants to know they can take your $10 million business, turn it into a $20 million business, and sell it within 3 to 5 years.
But Jack, I'm imagining people out there, you put all your heart and your hard work into a business, and it's an emotional thing to sell a company. Is there a time when you should actually sell and maybe when you should hold on to it just because you love the passion of working your business?
I'm so glad you asked that because many people look at all the numbers and not the emotions. People become very attached to their business. In fact, they become part of their business. There's this thing called the founder's dilemma that experts in strategically advising businesses recognize. The people that make the greatest founders make the worst people to grow a business to a medium-sized business because they become so attached and their identity so caught up, they can't let go, they can't delegate. Well, it also makes it very tough for them to sell. So there's a lot of soul searching, and I talk about this in the book. Why ever sell? I think you should create a business you could sell, but the decision to sell is a whole nother matter.
Now, why do you think that selling businesses is going to be the next big thing?
Well, there's a lot of good reasons. One is that buyers of businesses, the pros who buy businesses left and right, are getting bargains today. In 3 to 5 years, they're going to flip those for tremendous profits. And they're going to tell the world because they want to attract more investors to their businesses and because they also want the acclaim that comes with that. That's going to attract people who are disappointed with other asset classes like real estate and stocks, etc. Right? And then they're going to want to buy businesses.
So are the venture capitalist people out, are they out there right now?
They are, and the more particular term would be the private equity people are the ones that really focus on buying the businesses. Venture capitalists, they come in a little early. They put money in for a piece of your business usually, not the whole business. They sometimes take the whole business.
As an attorney, I know you're a terrific negotiator. I'll just give that to you right off. But have you ever started up a company and sold it yourself?
I have worked with a lot of companies where I was hand in hand with them doing it, and I've done similar things where I've been involved in real estate ventures where I was at the startup and sold it. So I've done two very close things. But the real key is that I'm in the boardroom for the last 25 years watching people make the decisions that lead to success and failure.
So the book, worth a read. Thank you very much, Jack Garson, for joining us this morning. The book is How to Build a Business and Sell It for Millions. Jack Garson, thanks again for coming into First Business.
Well, thanks so much for having me.